Hello. Hey guys, good morning. Thanks so much for joining this morning. Today we'll be discussing the starting point or the first cut steps towards the cloud native application development in Azure. Okay, so let me share my screen so that we can see what we are going to do today. Okay. So the source code for this session, this is my GitHub repository. Let me drop it here. Okay, so that will be my GitHub repository, and the session specific code will be available in this folder under Vishy Pilo Speaker Series, .NET Learners House, and Cloud Native Apps in Azure. So this is the place where you'll get the entire demo script, and also the code whatever I'll be using in today's demo will be here. You can click on this link and it again takes you to the GitHub repository which we will be using it. I mean, this is still under progress, but this is the first step towards the cloud native. It will be enough for this, and future will come and work on this GitHub workflows and make it a full cloud native application. So if you come and see the definition, what are cloud native applications? So the cloud native applications are built from ground up, optimized for cloud scale and performance. They're based on microservice architecture and use managed services and take advantage for continuous delivery to achieve reliability and faster time to market. So these all the things will be considered if it has to be the cloud native. So the first step towards this is we will create the applications using .NET 6 and SQL Azure, Azure Key Vault, Redis Cache, and Azure API management. So that's the thing. And we are doing manual deployments, and then we'll incrementally add the logging features. To some extent we are using application insights, but not that up to the mark. So we will use that in future, where we will do logging and health checks on CI/CD, maybe through Azure DevOps or through GitHub Actions. But we will slowly come towards that goal. Okay. So that being said, what are we going to do today? Okay, there's a lot of things to do today. 2 hours will not be enough, but we will see how quickly we'll be able to do that. Okay, let's take time. It's not nothing hurry. We will slowly do one by one. Everything we'll do it from scratch. We'll start with an empty slate and we'll do everything from scratch. Okay, so I'm still a learner. Apologize if I do some mistake. Right. So that being said, what are we going to do? We'll discuss on some of the security practices. And I mean, we'll touch upon, we might not do a deep dive, but at least we'll see as far as possible to touch on that security practices. and that will be across the different sections. Not only first we'll discuss two or three security points and we'll forget. I mean, in each and every layer or tiers we might discuss on the security practices, and we'll do a deployment to SQL Azure, and we'll create Redis cache, and we'll see the cache aside implementation. It's not fully cache aside, but the concept and the uh, the storing of the item in the cache and invalidating the cache, that piece is what is the cache aside. So at least we are covering it, because at this point of time our microservice API is having only get all, get by id and add. So technically it should have the entire CRUD operations. Then we can see the full blown cache aside pattern that we will definitely do in future when we are building the part 2 of this cloud native. And we might do it in two or three uh, mm, sections. So this is the first one, okay? And we'll see how to store data or the secrets in Azure Key Vault, and deploy .NET 6 Web API to Azure, then modify its configuration, verify it using the Postman, and then integrate the .NET 6 Blazor WASM with the API. And also we will be using this API management, Azure API management. We'll be doing that, and deploy this .NET 6 Blazor WASM, and then containerizing the Blazor WASM based single application, that single page application, that we will see if we get some time, but I'm keeping that as a stretch goal. But at least let's target the first 11 sections, right? So please fasten your seatbelt. A lot of things to go. So as I was mentioning, this is the link for the GitHub repo. You will find this GitHub repo. Okay. So that's cool. So let's start building in. The first security tip for the day is that when you use Azure virtual machines, or when you use an Azure virtual machines, most of the times what we will be doing is we will oh god, just a moment. uh, I didn't expose any public IP, because my virtual machine, the developer virtual machine with all the tool set installed in this virtual machine. So I did not expose any public IP for this Windows virtual machine. So it doesn't have the public IP or a FQDN. So all it has was just a D8 series with enough computing power, and Visual Studio and all the tools are available. So how am I connecting? I'm connecting through RDP, that using the Azure Bastion. Okay, I'm using Azure Bastion to connect. So this is one of the security feature. At this point of time, even though I give you the username password of this virtual machine, you will not be able to connect, because I did not expose the public IP, and the ports are also not enabled. If you see that uh, the networking, if you see that networking, you can see that what ports are enabled. So anything, all the network are denied. Okay, you see this, everything is denied. So only thing which this allows is virtual network, that is the Bastion virtual network it allows, and the load balancer, except that there's nothing. So it's totally secure. Okay, so when I use Bastion, you can see that it opens up in a browser instead of instead of this RDP slot. Okay, so that being said, let's go ahead and see that. One second, just give me a moment. I will go and check this. Okay, thanks. So step by step, let's go and do that. What is the first thing we are going to do? We are going to do we're going to deploy SQL project to Azure. Okay, so let's start that step by step. So these are the resources which we need. So we need SQL Server, SQL database, we need Redis cache, and we need Key Vault, and APIM I already created because it's going to take uh, a decent 30 to 40 minutes time. So we will not be able to spend that much amount of time. But if you want, you can see that right now um, we have our applications. Everything I deployed it this morning uh, before coming to the session, so that I can replicate everything using the mm, using it prod, because right now I marked everything as dev. So it goes through the APIM. You can see that if I go and click on that. Let me close this. Okay, if I go and click on that, you see that that is going through APIM, Azure API management. It goes through that APIM, and this is the uh, this is directly API slash books. This is the API. It goes to SQL database or Redis cache. So we can come and see the Redis cache over here. We can come and see the Redis cache. Just give me a moment. I'm just walking you through this Redis cache first, and the entire bits and pieces. It's not the entire thing. So you can see this. If I do get all underscore books, so it has got everything, because as soon as we get this data, if it doesn't uh, locate it in the cache, it gets it from the SQL and stores a copy. If I come and delete all underscore books and I do clear and keys, if I search for keys, it has got only this one. Let me delete that one. I do keys, I don't have anything. It says that empty list. Now if I come and go and access this, come and access this one. So now what happened to this? Let me check. Okay, what is that? Internal server error. Okay, so because I removed it, that's the reason. Uh, keys. Okay, there's nothing in here. We'll see that while we are creating. We'll see that. Let's start creating one by one. So these all things I marked it as dev, so that we know that this is the previous thing, whatever I deployed it this morning. Okay. So what we can do is for the issue, whatever it is coming, I can come into this log stream. I should be able to find out why did it fail, or while debugging we'll find out maybe I did something wrong while reading it from the cache. It could be that. We will investigate, because we have a lot of things to do. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so let's come and quickly create these resources so that we can do step by step. So all this is from the naming convention. We'll use this Azure naming conventions, so that it will be according to the naming convention suggested by Microsoft. So I'm using all the names according to the suggested. So if you see that uh, SQL hyphen is for SQL Server, SQL hyphen DB is for that one, and for Redis cache it is this one, Azure Redis cache. And if we use KV is for Key Vault. Okay, it's not there, but Key Vault, and APIM is for application API management, and app is for app service, and plan is for app service plan, like that. Okay, so I'm using all the naming conventions so that we'll be able to uh, identify or locate who's using what resource. Okay, without any further delay, let's start creating one by one. And because I have the API management here in this, which I tagged it as prod, so I want to place all the resources in this resource group only instead of creating a new one. So the first thing is, first we'll go ahead and create all the resources, and then we'll start building one by one. So this is in .NET Learner's House, and let's create a server that we are calling it as prod east US, and we'll call it as demo user sample at the rate $123, sample at the rate $123, right? So that is our SQL server, and then we'll create the SQL database, and this one is basic. It will charge 360 rupees or something, and then we will create that. Okay, that will create. And the next thing what we need is we need Redis cache. So let it start the deployment. It is initializing the deployment. Once it starts the deployment, let's go ahead and create. So that way we know that all the resources are being created, and we are starting with the clean slate. So nothing is available for us. We'll create all the resources and we'll start. Just 1 minute. Okay. Let me come back to this one. I'll change this view so that you'll see things bigger. Okay, that's cool. So that being said, let me go back to that resource group again. So we just created SQL Server. Okay, I'll close all these tabs and we'll bring in all these tabs as and when we'll create. So one tab we need it for SQL Server. So now we are creating Azure Redis cache. Okay, I'm taking uh, all the lower version. Okay, Azure cache for Redis, and I do create .NET Learner's House, and I create it. That's the prod. Let me put it everything in East US so that it will be within the close proximity. And for me, basic should be fine. Okay, so I'm leaving it to the public endpoint. Technically, we should go ahead with the private endpoint, sticking to version 4 of the Redis cache, and creating it. Let it create. Let's go ahead and create the next one. Then we'll come back and discuss few tips and tricks. And security practices also. We'll be doing that. And what all things it is doing? Okay, it is submitted. So this deployment is, both the deployments are on. So let's go back to the resource group. So we deployed SQL Server, Redis cache, now Azure Key Vault. So we want uh, Azure Key Vault. Okay, so Azure Key Vault, and this one I'm taking it standard and in East US, and at this point of time I'll keep it as I'll enable the purge protection and keep it 90 days. And right now I want to show that the difference. I will keep rest of the things as it is, because the portal nowadays, the softwares are changing so fast. Now today we are seeing a button, we are not sure that by today evening we'll see the same button there, or there might be upgraded version of the software. I'll show you that difference while we are creating the web apps. Okay, so APM is already there, so now we'll create the API. That's the API, one for API, one for Blazor as a map. And let me go ahead and select the .NET Learner's House, and that's the app. And see this wasn't there, and I'm seeing this peak. Last week when I was doing the session, there wasn't, and now today I'm seeing this. There was only these two. So like this, you never know when that improvement will happen. All of a sudden you are working and suddenly you see this one option appear in front of you. Plan. Okay. I don't want the standard. I will use shared one, should be fair enough for me. 240 minutes. Okay. So that should be fair enough. And okay, but we are not going to use much of this application inside in this session. But when we come back in future, we will focus more on the those pieces which are missing to call this entire solution a cloud native. I mean, these applications are like born and raised in cloud, optimized and taking the advantage of cloud. But again, some of the pieces are missing, like logging, monitoring, CI/CD, so that these deployments can go on scale and on demand. So those pieces are missing. That we will definitely fill up those pieces in 1 or 2 months down the line, because there's a lot of things which we piled it up. We'll be doing all those things, but it will take little bit of time. Okay. So that being said, I will create the final one, then we'll start the deployment. Let me go ahead and click on this .NET Learner's House, and that's the bookstore, and this is .NET 6 latest version, and it is in East US. I might run short of those resources if they cap it, but as long as it's not stopping, we'll go ahead with this, placing everything in East US. So let me come back to this one, go back to this, and uh, click on that, deploy, monitoring. We don't, yeah, as I was mentioning, we'll just place it, but we will not be able to take advantage of that in this session. Okay, in this session, rest of the things like how do we deploy, how do we connect, and how do we do some of the security considerations. So those things we'll be discussing in each and every block. Okay, so now that we have started deploying those resources, let's come back to this one, and I will go and use prod here. So just to see that. So we have SQL Server, we have Redis Cache, we have Key Vault, and API is there. And another thing which is getting cooked up is the web app, the one which we'll be using for the Blazor WASM. So those deployments will be done pretty soon, so we don't need to worry on that one. But we can stick to this one, and we'll start this deployments. So while in this journey, at a lot of places, I will create problems wantedly. Okay, so that we will learn from our mistakes. So if everything is smooth, we will never know that if a problem comes, where will be the problem, or what would have been the issue, how to solve it, we don't know. So when I was doing what all the places where I face the problem. I want to create the same set of problems here, so that you guys will also know that, okay, there are some of the problems which we can encounter. Okay. So what I'll do one for SQL, and one I will do it for Redis cache. One I need it for Key Vault. One I need it for API, and one I need it for um, Blazor WASM. So let's open all these tabs, and we can stick to this main tab. I'm calling it as a parent tab, where we will see that SQL Server, Redis Cache, Key Vault, and we have API and web API, Blazor WASM. Everything is .NET 6, and we have API management. Everything is there. Okay, I forgot the key guy. API management. Open this link in new tab. So let's open this link in new tab. This is an API management. Okay. So that being said, so first one we will keep it for SQL Server. So let me filter. Okay, let me close all these tabs and try opening it, so that we will not waste much of the time. So one, I have opened that, and this one I will open API in one, and web in one, and the key vault in another place, and Redis cache in another place, and I opened the SQL Server. So now we have all the tabs. So one for the APIM, one for the SQL Server, one for Redis cache, one for the key vault. So the first security tip was, we said that whenever we are exposing, creating a virtual machine, that will be used. So better to use it using Azure Bastion instead of opening up the RDP port and doing a remote using that one. So that way, what will happen is the attack surface will be reduced. So who can log into that box is only who has access to this jump box or the Azure Bastion. So they will be, only those people will be able to access it. So now let's come to the SQL Server. At this point of time, we don't have anything in the SQL Server. One second. So I want to connect it to this database. Want to check that. I'll not be able to connect, but let me give this a shot. So it says that my IP is not allowed. Okay, that's fine. Let's leave it as it is. And let me go back to this one and come back over here and go to that show firewall settings. So that means it says that my client IP address is not been whitelisted, so it will not allow me to log into this database. Even though I created it and I have the username and password, it will not allow me to log in. That's the first security thing. Okay, so the second thing is, I am going to this database and copying the connection string. Let me copy the connection string and store it here, and I use the same password what I'm using. Right, I'm using the same password over here. So the next thing is, we have this, and come back to this one and go here, and let's try to deploy the database, the SQL project. So let me select this and do it as startup project. Set up the startup project. You see, I have one table in this. It's a book table, and I have 5 stored procedure for all these CRUD operation. One is the get all and get book by ID, update book by ID. It's a very small stored procedure, delete as well as this add. And also I have the post deployment script. So it will populate, like instead of seed, I am doing it from here. Uh, I isolated these two things. Instead of seeding it from EF Core or EDO.NET, I'm doing a separate database deployment. It will ensure that the data exists. And API assumes that, okay, data exists. API doesn't care, basically, whether the data exists or not. It goes and brings the content, right? So let's see that. And and this is the one. Okay. So now let's try to deploy this. First thing what we have to do is here, right mouse click on this and select this properties. And inside the properties in the project setting, we should ensure that the target platform is Microsoft Azure, and come to the debug and click on edit and give this credentials. This is a prod database, so I'm calling it as this is a prod database, and your password is sample at the rate $123, and let me delete that and click on test connection. So it will not allow this because couple of things in the previous thing. Observe the difference, folks. Here when I'm trying to get into the query editor and I give the password and I give the password. So what is happening is it clearly says that this IP address is not whitelisted. But whereas when I'm trying to connect it from my virtual machine, which is there in Azure, it doesn't give me that, but it says that client is not allowed to access this server. That's what it is telling. One reason is it doesn't have a public IP. So what it will tell? This public IP is not whitelisted. Where will it get that public IP? We didn't expose the public IP, isn't it? We 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 saw that here. There is no public IP. So, but netnet still it is validating. The SQL Azure is validating, but someone is trying to connect, but that guy is not whitelisted either from the Azure services or from the virtual network or from the IP. So nowhere it has been mentioned. So all it says is you will not be able to connect. So what we will do is we'll come back here and go to our resource group and go to the SQL server. This is SQL server, the prod SQL server. Go to the firewall settings and click on add existing virtual network. So I'm calling it as prod. Uh, okay, I'm calling it as prod demo. Okay, and vnet for dev boxes, and this is the one. So that means what we are telling is wherever this virtual machine is there, in which virtual network it is there. Okay, in which virtual network it is there, it is snet dev boxes mashup. So that's what it is taking, snet dev boxes mashup. So that's what we are enabling, and also it enables the service point also, so that this virtual machine will be able to connect to that SQL server. We are not punching the hole in the firewall, folks. We are not punching the hole in the firewall. All we are doing is in a VNet integration. That means any resources which is within that network should be able to access this guy. Okay, so that's cool. So it has added the firewall. So now if we come and try to connect it, the connection is succeed. So it's secure. So until unless you create a resource in one virtual network and allow that virtual network to connect, it is pretty much a secure. So we are reducing the attack surface, right? So now I have saved that connection, and we can see that here that there are no tables are there. Let me come back here. This is Azure Data Studio. I'm adding one more connection, SQL login, demo user, and I'm saying connect. So it's connecting. So that's the prod, and inside the prod we are seeing that there are no tables. See that? There are no tables. But in the previous one, you can see that the table exists and the content also exists. But at this point of time, there are nothing. So now what we will do is we'll right mouse click on this and directly deploy. Click on this. And what it will do is it will start this activity. If you come in here, it compiles and it goes and it deploys it. Okay, let's take uh, a quick minute on that one. Okay, in the meanwhile, while this is getting deployed, let's come back to the Redis cache and go to the access keys and get this access key. So I kept both the SQL Server as well as the Redis cache credentials. Let's keep that, keep it handy. Let's come back to the virtual machine. It will deploy it, and we see that the database is here. And some of the other things what we can do is one of the thing is the encryption, transparent data encryption. So that is enabled, and and it is using the Azure managed key. If we have the HSM module, then we can have our own customer managed key. But whatever Azure is using it, that is pretty secure until unless you have uh, some rules or uh, something you have to adhere. Then you can have your own HSM module and use your own customer managed keys. If not, whatever Azure is providing, that should be pretty good enough for you to use that encrypted data. Okay, so that is one tip. And another tip is when we go to the SQL database, you can see that nowadays they have given the query editor here, and okay, you can see that it also shows that performance review. If you see that what all the queries which are executing, and also which queries it is taking time. And another thing is automatic tuning. So in this automatic tuning, what will happen is based on the content and based on the number of data it is getting pumped in, and how you are retrieving this content, what fields you are retrieving, it will have an intelligence to add these things. So that means it will dynamically create the index, dynamically drop the indexes. Because let's assume that it has added an index A on fruits name, and then suddenly it found that that particular index is not working, or it is having undesired results, then it can drop that particular index, and it will create a execution plan. And today that execution plan is working fine, tomorrow it might not work. So day after tomorrow it is creating a new execution plan. So in these three execution plans, it found that the execution plan which was working on Saturday is working good, but Sunday and Monday's plan is not working. Then it will force the previous execution plan. So these are some of the things we can consider. It is still deploying. Let's see this Azure Data Studio. Yeah, I didn't start. If not, it will show it here. The moment it is deploying, you can see this. This is the connection. The moment it starts deploying here, it will say, and it will start creating the table. So it is creating the table, and then it is creating the stored procedure. So that line didn't come. Still, it is compiling it. So if we go here, we can see in this folder, we can see the SQL file which it is getting generated. You come in and see here, if we wait here, it will create that SQL file, and that SQL file will get deployed. There you go. I told you, isn't it? It creates one SQL file, and after that it will deploy. So before it deletes it, let's go ahead and see that what is this SQL file. On open with Visual Studio Code. Let's see that. No, you're not going to do anything. You just see that this is the SQL file it got generated, right? So this all these things will get deployed. So I just wanted to give a little bit additional information on this. So I'll close it. Come back over here, and we see this, it got deployed. So now if we go back and do a refresh, now we go back and do a refresh, you see that now I go and open this. Let me open this database and the tables, and right mouse click, edit data. So it might take some time, but it will give the control. Let's leave that block and let's go to the next step in our journey, right? So we have created this Redis cache. So while creating this Redis cache, we need to consider like what kind of data can we store in this Redis cache. Can we store the stock prices? It doesn't make sense, because you will store only the data is which is not going to change that frequently. That means if you take the number of professors in a college, so very rarely the professors will get added or deleted, very rarely. Modify, we can assume that if he is getting a raise or his designation changed or he has changed his address, quite a few, very few times it will change, but most of the time it will be static kind of thing. So if you take the books price, and the books, if a book has been released in Jan, most probably that book's price or the author will not change until unless there is a discount on that book, will not give a discounted price. So those kind of things which are very rarely changing are the right candidate to the Redis, to put it in the Redis cache. We'll come back to discuss on the cache aside pattern. We will see that to a decent extent now, but full blown Redis cache aside pattern we will see in the part 2 of this cloud native application series. So the next thing is, how much memory do you need? So while you are creating this Redis cache, we'll come back and we're not going to create it, but just wanted to check that. Where is this Redis? Yeah, here you go. I go back to this, and you can see the scale, and it clearly shows that how many connections are available. Okay, and low network bandwidth, and what is the 250 GB, it's 1 GB cache, and the cost also it's there, but just wanted to run through. Here it allows 1000 connections, here it allows 2000 connections, and as and when it goes, like it is a dedicated service, it allows SSL, and okay, these are other plans, but I just want to show you that it gives additional features, and some of those things it might write it to the persistence data also. But one thing to consider is the content, whatever is stored here, is in memory. So need to ensure that it will be in memory. If someone sneaks into that memory, they might be able to steal it. So how long you want to keep the data in the memory? So how frequently you want to invalidate the cache? If you do very frequently, if you invalidate the cache, so you're losing the benefit of not hitting the database. You're doing a lot of computing here itself. So these are all considerations which we need to think before choosing the caching strategies. Okay, so let's go and see the next step. What are we going to do? So let's see how do we create this cache aside pattern. I think I added some code around 8:40 or 9 o'clock I added some code that would have been broken. I don't know. Let's see that if at all it breaks it. Okay. And another tip is that, let's go. Uh, Here is an API, and I can create the map. Where's that map? Show on code map. We'll see that how the layers are built. Okay. So this is the map of that. So this is the database project, and this is the API project. And the common has got set of it has got application core, it has got SQL DAL, cache DAL, bookstore BLL, and the data access layer. And you can see that you can expand it here. So it shows that how the things are. But at a high level, I just wanted to give you guys a quick view. Don't save. At least we can go and check this one on the code map. So that gives a little bit a better idea, like how this particular API is built. So if I go and expand this API, so that API is talking to this one, and also it again goes, and if I expand this, it should show all the integration points speaking to which DLL is dependent on which DLL. It shows this. The code map is one of the useful tool. And another thing is, if I come into this API, it is very lean because all the things I have moved it to the reusable libraries. Everything I moved it to the reusable libraries. So at this point of time, this is the controller is very lean. It has got only three. Action methods. One is add a book. One is get all books, and one is get book by ID. So these are the three things which are there. And if I come and check what is there in the app setting, it has got connections to my local. And here there's nothing in. So I don't have, at this point of time, I don't have Redis in my local. I need this. If we get time, we will do a containerization of the Blazor WASM. I just want to enable the Docker. Okay, so this Docker is also enabled. At this point of time, if you come and see that, I don't have my local Redis running. Or if you see here also, my local Redis is not running. So I don't have anything in local. So how are we going to hit this? So one of the thing what we can do is we can put it in the user secrets. So user secrets will be under C users, our login username, app data, roaming, Microsoft secrets. So how do you know that? If you go to any project, right mouse click on that project and click on manage user secrets. The moment you do the manage user secrets, what it will do is it will add one line entry over here, and it will create a GUID and add this GUID. So if you come and see this folder, there might be multiple GUIDs. You don't know what is the folder which belongs to this any particular project. So that is the reason I came up with some naming convention. I'm using the first 8 characters, and then I'm writing my project name. So I have two different projects. One is the e-commerce application which I'm developing, and one is the cloud native application. This is again a series. Both has got its own separate series. So this might go to 4 to 5 episodes, but this is the first episode. So that is giving me a good option to do that. So what I can do is, how do you modify it? That's a good question. What you can do is right mouse click on that and click on manage user secrets. It will come in here. As I was mentioning, in application, we have this app settings. This we can use only our local box. But for anything else, I strongly suggest use the secrets JSON. Because if you use the secrets JSON, this is outside the solution. You saw that it goes to the users folder, but wherever is this source code is there, the secrets file is outside that scope or outside where the source code is there. So in hurry, if you check something in, but this credentials will be safe. So let's use these credentials. I think it might fail because I added some code this morning around 8:45. I think I have broken that. But let's try that. That should be fine. If we are scared, then we can't go anywhere. So let me add this. Okay. That being said, what we can do, we are seeing 8 rows are there here. Let's execute this API. Now you see that advantage, one of the advantage. And the important thing to focus here is, we'll come and we'll discuss on that one. So have you ever seen I am accessing any of this Redis connection string or SQL connection string in anywhere in this code? We are, we are not using. So there are no magic strings except this one. I'm sorry for that, but except that there are no magic strings anywhere. So that is called typed configuration. I'm going to discuss in future session what is typed configuration, but we are using that typed configuration. That means you will use a class, and that class will have those properties, and in from your configuration you will bring a section of the name. It should have the same name, data store settings. That means if you see that secret.json, that has got the data store settings, and that class should have these two properties. So when you bring in the get section and you configure with a typed class, so this configuration settings will get populated here, and that I'm adding it as a dependency. So anywhere I needed the connection string of the Redis cache or the SQL server or whatever is the configuration I needed, I just need to inject this one, only this class, I data store settings. Anywhere I inject this I data store settings, that should be fair enough. I mean, I don't need to do anything else. Why should I pass this entire connection string every now and then? Whatever I need, I just pass it. If you see this in the Redis cache DB context, I'm just passing in. I'm not taking in I configuration. I configuration has got thousands of things. Whatever I need is only these 2 lines. Technically, this is only 1 line. Redis cache. I could have put it in a separate structure and I could have passed that. But what I'm telling is, use only when you need it. And what do you need it? Don't send extra information, right? If you see that in book repository where I need the SQL connection, so I'm passing in this. I'm using that to generate the SQL connection here. See this, that SQL server connection string. So nowhere it's a magic string. It's a typed configuration object. I'm getting it from the secrets.json, populating it into a class, loading that as part of the dependency injection, and using it wherever I need it. So this is another tip. And how does the dependency injection container gets created or loaded? So let's spend 2 minutes time on that one. So I am changing this to start a project and come to this and books API. Got it. Got it. I just updated these packages, and after that I didn't test. I remember that. When did I do? I think I need to downgrade it. See that? 3 hours ago. This is what I did it. Right, that's what I was seeing. What did I do? Why did it break? Exactly. Something I changed it here and it is breaking. And I did some changes to this code also. Just 3 hours ago, I did that. So it could be. Let's see that. We'll fix it if you have time. So this Services is the dependency injection container. So let's go and right mouse click on that and do a quick watch. And when you do a quick watch, how many dependencies are there in this? 81 dependencies are there. So now we are adding cars. And after adding cars, we'll see that how many dependencies are there. Let me add it to the watch so that we don't need to go and do it every time. We'll see that. Okay, now it is 84. And after that, I do an F10. So from 84, where is the watch window? Let me fix this guy and remove this guy so that we'll get extra space and reduce. See that from 84 it bumped it to 173. So I'm adding line number 25. So 174 and build a service, add swagger. From 174 it is 83. Then I'm adding this strongly typed, now 186. So I'm adding Redis cache DB context, so 187. The business logic layer and the cache repository and the book repository. So see that. So now if you uh, come and expand this guy and see the results over here, can see that if you scroll down, it takes time, but it will definitely give us a control to go and validate all the dependencies. See that? All this one, iData store settings, Redis cache, iBook BLL, cache repository, book repository, all these things are coming in from here. So just wanted to give you some additional information. What is this dependency injection, how that is getting constructed. So now you understood, like it's like in your bank account, you're depositing money into your bank account and you go and withdraw from the ATM, you'll get it. Now that, let's go and get the data. So let's come to Redis cache. Let's come to the overview and go to the console. It is connecting. Uh, I think I might need to debug. I will waste 10 or 15 minutes time of your time. I'm sorry for that because it's my mistake. I shouldn't have done the last minute changes. I did it. It's my mistake. Sorry for that, guys. So I did click on try it. Try it and click on execute. Now when I'm executing it, it goes and brings in the content of that 8 rows. So it is bringing in 8 rows. Let's see that keys. It's here. Now I'll say get all iPhone books. So see that it is there here. So now what I will do is I will go and add one of the row. So if I go and add one of the row, try it, and I don't need this ID it generates, and the title I'm calling it as delete me, so that we will identify what is that new record. I've added this. Now if I come back to that Redis cache keys, I see nothing because I'm invalidating the cache. Why? Because let's see what is cache asset pattern. So the cache asset pattern is you will store something in a cache as long as it is matching with the single source of truth. So single source of truth is a SQL Server database, and we stored that set of books in the Redis cache. It was 8 books. The moment you added the 9 books, so the data store has got 9, the SQL Server has got 9 records, whereas the Redis cache has got 8 records. So this is not the truth right now. So this is the stale data. So we have to invalidate the cache. Okay. Azure cache asset pattern. So see this, what it will do is first it will come and check, it needs some data. It comes and checks in the data store. If it finds the data store, if it is finds in the data store, then it comes and places something in the cache, right? And then gives it back to the user. Next time, what the user will do is first he will come and check the cache. If it is available in the cache, he will go from here. If it is not, then you will go and retrieve it from the cache and store it a copy in the retrieve it from the data store it in a cache and give the data. That is what is the cache aside pattern. So whatever is here, if this database has been modified, then this is stale data, or the content is not matching between the source and the cache. So in that case, what we have to do is we have to invalidate the data which is there in the cache. So that's what we did it there. Okay, so now if I go and get the number of books, I'm saying execute. So if you say that, I think we should find, yeah, delete me, it is here. And also we can confirm that from our Azure Data Studio. So in that Azure Data Studio also, you can see that you are seeing this extra row. I will go and delete this row. Okay, I will go and delete this here, and let me check that. I will come here. This is what it was failing previously. I want to see that. Will it fail now? No, it's giving in. It could be some other reason, guys, why it failed there. We'll see that. Right now it is working. So the get all books work, post a book works, and get book by ID. So I want to check. I want to get the 8th record. Now the 8th record is Jagadish, and I can come in here and verify keys. So get book underscore 8. Jagdish row is there. I will do del book underscore 8, and now I do keys. Right, it's there. Let's come back and do another search. Okay, it works fine. I mean, it didn't throw error. I don't know why did that throw. See that it again created. That's what is the cache aside pattern, guys. So when you store something in the cache, now you have to decide that whenever that data becomes stale, it has to invalidate, and it is the responsibility of the program or the solution to invalidate the cache. Okay, if the source data has been modified, immediately we have to come and invalidate that particular entry. In this scenario, if a book if all if a book has been new book has been entered into the system, that means all books are invalid. So we can go and delete that, but we can keep this book 8. We don't know whether to remove our book 8. That depends. If someone goes and edits a particular book, that means the all books will be new data for that particular record. Also this has been modified, so it makes sense to invalidate this book 8. So it depends upon the strategy, how do you want to do. But please don't use that I'll keep the data for 15 minutes and then I'll invalidate. It might not be apt. I mean, I don't know whether that might be applicable in any of the solution, but according to the documentation, what it suggests is it should be automatic. You should put that intelligence into the solution, that it decides when the source data, the data in the source, when it gets modified. Obviously it makes sense to come and clean this cache. Okay, I think that is the cache aside pattern. So we discussed that and we discussed this, and here is a block I have given. Now we'll go to the next step of our journey. Just give me a minute. I'll have a glass of water. Okay, that's the code. Just keep it. Going to come to the Azure Key Vault. So let's come and see this Azure Key Vault. So there are no keys here. So I want to show the difference in two different places. One thing is I'll keep this a prod, and again I'll go back to this dev version of Key Vault also. Just wanted to show you something. Let's assume this is from a security perspective. I create delete me. I entered some junk. I just created. I mean, entering the value is not the concept here. The concept is how do you secure things. Let's assume someone from our team, unknowingly or knowingly, he comes and deletes a secret. So multiple projects depends on that secret called delete me. Okay, and he deleted it. And then what did he do is he came and click on manage deleted secrets. It will take some time. In the meanwhile, we'll come and we'll do the same thing. Delete me underscore prod. And some junk is there. I click on create. Okay, I select that delete me prod and I deleted it. Okay, and now I go to manage delete secrets. Okay, so what it says, purge protection is enabled for all the items within this key vault. The difference you will find is, see that when I deleted this in dev subscription, it is showing me what entry has been deleted. I can do purge. That means there is no trace now. There was an entry and I went into the delete manage deleted secrets, and I waited for a couple of seconds. It showed that what entry I've deleted. I selected it. I did purge. Now I erased its existence. Now there is no trace. I mean, we can go and check the activity log that who did what. We can get traced, but at least for few hours the entire DevOps and architects and managers will run from pillar to post. Why set of applications stopped working all of a sudden? Because of my ignorance, I deleted that item. But when you enable the purge protection, so even though it shows this, it is not allowing me to purge. That means the mandatory number of days, maybe 7 days or 90 days, even though someone created a secret or some existing secrets, because of his capability to delete it, he deletes it. And if he wants to wipe it off from the system, he can't. So I can do a recover now. So now from deleted, it will bring it back to this one. So always please ensure that you are enabling the purge protection. Generally, the purge protection will not be available for anyone. I have bumped it. It will not be there. I added it when I created. So that's the reason I'm able to show you that feature. What is this purge protection feature? Okay. So that being said, let's go to the step 2 of this one. I keep it. That's one of the security things, guys, I wanted to give you. Next thing is I go and create a new item here, SQL Server. Now I go to this one. I created it and Redis connection string. Okay. Right now there are two things. I will go ahead and delete it again because I don't need this. It's creating confusion. Now these are two connection strings are there. I will go get the SQL Server connection string. I copy it. I paste it in the notepad. I will use it. Okay. Then I need it for release connection string. I need its reference. And if you have multiple versions, if you add it at the end, that version number, so you can access that particular version. If you see that uh, it has got only a single version. If I create another version, but I can still go and access this version. So that's what we did it. We created it. Now we'll work with the web API. Come back to my box. We tested the web API. It's working. Now what we have to do is we have to deploy this web API. I right mouse click and click on publish. And I want to check that. I'll add a new one. Azure, Windows, and API prod. Oh, I'll skip this right now and publish it. Let me publish this. It will not work. The API will not work for next 10 to 15 minutes. I want we to go the hard way to learn where all the possibilities we will fail. Okay, let's come back to this is dev. I'll close this. This is an API. I'll come to log streams. I'll switch on the file application logging. Come to the log stream. API/books. I hit that. Let me copy so that we can stay outside this virtual machine and try this. And come back over here. We're trying to hit and we'll come and we'll see that. So it says that it failed. Unable to connect to, it is going and reading these values from the local. It's not able to connect to the Redis cache, the local Redis cache. So that means what we understand is it has got some stale, it is reading something which is not supposed to read. So that means where it is reading those information, we will see that. If we come and select that app service editor, in the meanwhile, I'll go and select this configuration. And app settings, this is what it is reading. Right? This is what it is reading. So I can add this configuration, whatever I have it here, inside my secrets JSON, I can come and put it. So that's not the right way to do it. So one of the way to handle that is we need to create a application settings. Right. So how do we do that? We will go copy this and new app settings, and then come back. I create this. We are referring the key vault. Okay, this should be the value. So we are saying that I'm going to refer this to the key vault, the prod key vault. Okay, then the next item I need to create it for Redis cache. That's a Redis cache. Let me save this. And once we save this, we will see those two entries in red color. What does that mean is it's not able to, something is wrong. Maybe we have given the wrong information, or it is not able to go and hit the key vault. So one of the solution will be we have to commit to identity and switch on the system assigned identity and wait for that to give you the control, and copy that, go to key vault and access policies, add access policies, none has been selected. Then we select the prod, and I want to give list and get for this permission. Only whatever I need, I'm giving it. I click on add and I click on save. Then you will see that my username has got all 8, and this API, it's an application. It clearly shows that this is user, this is application. It has got these 2 permissions. Now we'll come back to the configuration. I'll come back to this configuration and try refreshing it. Try refreshing it. Let's give this try. If it is not working, then we will restart that API. Okay, still it doesn't work. That's cool. Let's go and see the log stream. Let's see the log stream. It will give us some clue. Okay, some of the failures are here. So what it says is it's not able to parse it. That's what it clearly says here. It's not able to parse these values. So still it is not taking that into consideration. So what we will do is I will stop this and then start it. Let's wait until its status changes. Let's wait until its status changes, but it might, out of my curiosity, I'm doing it. It might work or it might not, but let's wait until this is giving the data. So that means what happened is now it was able to identify. So that means whatever the reference we have given in this app settings to the key vault. Now those turned into green. I had to stop and start. So I just wanted to show what all the problems I faced when I was learning. I just wanted to show you all those things. So if you get hit with the same set of problems, you know that. Now you see this, even though our app settings file locally has got some information, but the precedence is given to the app settings, whatever you create, right? And one more thing is, you would have observed that I created data store settings underscore underscore redis connection string. Why did I do that? So here, double underscore. If you go to Microsoft documentation, go and check this double underscore. So whenever you have any item inside your app settings or your JSON file, which is like item, I mean name colon name. In that case, in our local, if you see that, let me right mouse click on that and manage user secrets. You see that data store settings redis connection string. That means this colon this, and data store settings colon SQL connection string. So whenever it is a colon thing, what you have to do, instead colon you need to do underscore underscore. That should be, the colon should be replaced with double underscore. Now you should understand that why did I create the app settings with underscore. So those are the tips. Now we'll go to the next phase of that. We'll come to the app settings. So we are going step by step approach. So we are building this cloud native application. There's nothing in. From there we get hit with lot of problems. One by one we are overcoming, and we are here at this point of time. So we need to add this into app settings. So I click on here, app service, browse that. So I see prod over here, API prod. I select that and click on it. I'm calling it as API prod. I create it. Okay, this is previous one. This is the prod one. Now if I go select this get, and I want to test it, and in the template parameters, I say /API/books and just click on send. We'll create a lot of problems, guys. Then we'll overcome one by one problem. Okay. So these are the things which are very important right now. So we need to have this value. To have this value, and also the subscription key. Should have these two values. Okay. Now we have configured the APIM, and we need to add this cars block to that APIM. So let's go back to this one. Design all operations. After this, we'll paste it. We'll come and modify, and that will be web. Okay, once we'll create it, we'll do that. But as of now, I just wanted to save it. We'll come and we'll modify that, guys. Let's keep it as it is, right? So that's the step number 9. So step number 10 is we need to integrate it. Let's go back. We should be able to integrate our local with the API. So I'll select this, and inside the tab settings, first let's check with API, whatever we hosted it. Check with this API. So it is, instead of, this is dev. That's dev. I'm calling it as, okay, I can come in here and take this and paste it here. Okay, we pasted it, and let's run and we'll see that. Is it working? Are we able to hit our local Blazor WASM with our API which has been hosted in Azure? So let's check that. I will open this network tab and click on browse. So what it says is cars policy. Okay, that's the IP. Sorry, that's the FQDN. So let's come back to APIM. Let's go. It is it the same? What are we hitting? Hold on. Something is wrong. Why should it go to APIM? It shouldn't go to APIM. Yeah, it's going to APIM. That's wrong. It should go to the API first. First, our test will be against API. Prod. Where is? Let me get that to the notepad. Paste it here. First thing will be this, right? Now come in here and I modify that. Okay. Now let me close this. Whatever is not needed. Now let's go. Saw that? It's getting it now. Let me go and select it. You see that books, and it is hitting API 12th Feb prod. The same Azure website is this one. So now we are able to talk to the API which has been hosted in Azure from our local Blazor WASM. That was step 1. Another step 2 is what we want to. This is a dev subscription. I'm just keeping it as it is, so that we'll know all the configurations whatever we are changing. and this I will turn into prod, and this I will unblock, and this I will unblock, because now we need these information. We'll come back to this. I will go grab this guy, the prod one. This is apim prod, and that guy's key. Okay, technically subscription key is a 1. Doesn't make sense having 2 entries. Then it's cool. So we added. Now we are trying to hit the apim. Let's see that how many problems will get faced in this mode. This is no problems because we already added the cars. See that? It goes here and it directly goes to this, the apim prod, and it brings the content. So that means to a decent extent, we know what are we going to do that. And I'll close this. I'll close this. And I go to this guy, copy this, come back to the apim, and put that entry over here. Instead of dev, it should be prod. Because we tested it from our local, now I have configured the prod also. Now we should be able to test in the prod also. Now what I will do is right mouse click on that and publish new. That's the web. Deploy that. Publish. It will be fast. It will not be that slow as previously because I'm alone today. I'm just checking. Is there something which I can address? Some bots. Okay, cool. So because I'm alone, I have to check in all the places. So to that, this I think I will park it to the next piece where we'll add the where we'll add logging, health checks, and containerization of that. We'll discuss. So I think that has deployed it. Come in here, paste it. What? So it's bringing in the latest web application, and we'll click on this. Woo! Fail. That's cool. I love this. Okay, now what? Can it's car searching? Does make sense. Ooh, yeah. See this, your subscription and this one. So again, where do you go and hunt it? We already did it. You need to come back here, go to App Service Editor, and That's one difference if you see between the Blazor WASM and API. So in API, it was taking preference the app settings.json, but whereas in Blazor WASM, it goes into this production. It brings in that your API subscription key. That's what we are seeing here. Your API subscription key. That means it is taking this block into consideration, right? So I can go here and copy these two pieces. Right now, these are the valid things. I can come in here and put it here, save that, and come on here, right mouse click, empty cache, hard reload. So now this time, ooh, now what? Didn't I unblock this? Let me go back to this APM. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There's an extra. There's an extra line. That was a mistake. You can see that. That's one entry. And the second one is this. Let me put this in a notepad to see that what is that we have copied and what is that which is available here. Okay, both are matching. So cool then. So come back, right mouse click this one, and there you go. It's cool. If you go and click on this books, that's an options call, and this books is the get call, and you can see the preview, and you're seeing the response. So that's pretty cool. So we are here. One piece I thought of to discuss this containerization, but I am holding it to that. What we will do is we will create the part 2 of this. So wherein what we will do is we will add the login and also the health check and authorization and authentication. That is not there. So I just wanted to focus creating two different spas talking to this server side infrastructure. You have server side infrastructure, we have API API management, you have API, you have Key Vault, you have SQL, you have Redis cache. That server side infrastructure will be the same. The Blazor WASM is there. I'm planning to add uh, Angular 13 in that mix, and one with Azure AD authentication, one with another kind of authentication. Just wanted to play around with different authentication. And the automatic deployments of those things. And then the next level will be where we containerize these things and deploy it. So let's take a real quick minute to see what is coming up. Let me reshare my screen. Reshare my screen, and you can see that real quick. So here in this and this b.net events and this b.net events. So this is what we discussed today. And in the next section, what we will do is we will create a CI/CD pipeline. So here we will be discussing on Azure DevOps boards, and then we'll discuss about the infrastructure as a code, and then whatever this web API we did it today, we'll exclude this Azure functions because we didn't have that in our architecture today. We'll bring in future, but we will do this. So slowly we are moving towards the full blown cloud native application. All these 12 factors, whatever it needs. I don't know whether I'll be able to hit all the 12, but we'll see as much as possible. But because this is the first step towards it. And if you see the rest of the events we have piled it, is like it makes incremental. It makes incremental. Like here we discussed on the full stack of .NET Cloud Native. We deployed it manually, and we'll do some portion of automation here, and then we'll bring in Angular and React with the CI/CD, because the server-side infrastructure is common. Whatever we discussed in the month of February, the same we'll be using in April. And then we'll do a little bit of static analysis, or software composition analysis, or app testing, and then come back, do this. So we are moving towards the uh, cloud native, and then we'll use the containerization. We might flip one or two items here and there, but at least for March and April, I think we will be sticking to the game plan. uh, that's me. So thank you so much for joining. If you guys have any queries, please post it, and any feedback, um, positive or negative, please feel free to post it in the comment, because that will help me to fine tune the content, or whatever it is. If it is feedback, is feedback. No questions asked. I am open to the feedback, positive or negative. I'm fine on that. And the entire source code will be in this folder. I will give it right away to that. Ashwin, thank you so much, Ashwin. So here is that. So please go grab the source code, play around, and hope to see full house again uh, on March 12th. This is our monthly episodes. So B.NET and .NET Learners House. So what we are doing is we are combining these events and doing it, so that we'll get uh, different speakers and different items, and we are following this cloud native microservices thing. Eventually we're going to move towards the microservice. As of now it's an app service, but pretty soon we'll convert these into containers. Thank you so much. Anyone else has got anything, please feel free to post a comment. I'll wait for a couple minutes before we close this bridge. How did you like today's session? I always feel to do a live session. Thanks, Ganesh. I always love to do a live session. If it is failing, it is failing. Uh, I I don't come up with slides, PowerPoint presentation. I'm sorry for that, but I love to do hands-on. So live session, I'll just go live, do it. If it is failing, it is failing. It's good lesson for me that I need to practice more before coming to speaking. Okay. Thanks so much. Anyone else got anything? We'll take this questions, or in 1 minute we'll close this bridge. And please see the upcoming events here. Please go to this meetup. Okay. You can um thanks, Ashwin. uh, you made my day with that particular sentence. uh, okay. And one more thing is, every month we are planning, and this time we are going full on microservices. Eventually we will be going on that. And apart from that, I just wanted to give you guys another series which I did it, and that's a lot more to come in that series also. You guys can go and watch these. uh, uh, Thanks so much. In fact, compared to PPT, hands-on is more helpful. Thanks. That's what I love, Ganesh, because the world is filled with digital content. We should know that how to do it. So I'm doing it. And the one which I pasted right now is of Microsoft Reactor's link, where I completed 11 sessions on hands-on AZ204 sessions. It is hands-on AZ204. It is from MI Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel. Okay, please go to that channel. You see that it's a playlist of 11, and that sessions will be bi-weekly. So once in 2 weeks, you will have one session. I completed 11. There might be 10 or 11, I don't know, or 12, I don't know. So a minimum 10 more sessions to come in that AZ204 hands-on session. Apart from that, the monthly events from .NET Learners House and B.NET, that will be one combined event. So that being said, thank you so much, Ashwin and Ganesh. Anyone else has got anything to say? Any comment, you can do it, or we'll close the bridge. And thank you so much. Next month, March 12th, please block your calendar. It will be full of action episode on DevOps, Azure DevOps, right from infrastructure as a code, build pipeline, release pipeline. Even though if I'm not able to do it, the YAML templates, at least the classic uh, templates, I'll be definitely doing. And we'll bring in fresh blood. We'll bring in some other speakers. But the things will be hands-on. Thank you so much, guys. Stay safe and see you in the next month's event. Bye.